I'm here to share with you the story of Mrs. Jitu. Jitu is a smallholder farmer, and she lives in Uganda. She grows bananas. And Jitu in Kiswahili means giant, and in Amharic it means fertile. I grew up in a family that is similar to Jitu's. My mother used to grow bananas, cassava, potato, tomato, and unfortunately she could lose 50% of our produce. And so she struggled to take us to school, to meet our medical care, to provide food for us. So I bring you the story of Jitu, which represents how I grew up also. So Jitu is faced with the challenges of post-harvest loss. Much of our produce is lost because she cannot be able to get a place to store her produce. And then there comes an extension worker who then coordinates a training about post-harvest loss. And Jitu is one of the participants. And she learns a lot about post-harvest loss. Really, this is God sent. It is a solution to her problems. And using the modern technology of a mobile phone, she then communicates with a number of neighbors within her community. And they decide to come together so that they can be able to use the knowledge that they have learned from the training they attended. And with the support of the extension worker links them to technology suppliers. And the extension worker is closely working together with them. So with time, they set up a cold storage. And then they coordinate themselves together so that they aggregate their produce together, and they can store it in the cold storage, which is centrally placed in their community. And from there, intermediaries can come and pick their stored produce and sell to the market. And so Jitu can be able to get her check and be able to go to the market and buy food and foodstuffs and other commodities for her family. Meanwhile, the extension worker is helping them to collect data on the amount of produce that they are producing in this community and the available markets that can be able to uptake their produce. And also the extension worker is helping them with agronomic practices so that their produce is not just one time, but continually they can be able to improve on their produce and produce quality and also keep increasing their yields. And so because of the data that is being shared out there about this village, Bukoba village in Uganda, the thing just goes viral. And everybody is interested in this community that is storing their produce so well, and they are able to sell and get an income. And so private investors pour into this community. They come and set up cold storage facilities. They come and set up mobile processing facilities. And so the community continues now to supply these private sector investors. And because they can be able to store their produce long enough, and they can be able to process it on farm, the produce now, there is value addition to their produce. And so they can now get a bigger check, and the government also comes in to support with further investment, building infrastructure, just setting the environment so that the private sector can continue to invest in this community. And it's not just Jitu's community only any longer. Now other communities have learned about this particular innovation, and the neighboring communities are also aggregating together and copying what has happened in Jitu's community. And so eventually we have farmer-based organizations. Something that was a village issue is now a district issue. It is a county issue, it's a national issue. Farmer-based organizations are shooting up all over. And these farmer-based organizations now are bringing some organization in the storage of their produce, and they can now contract large buyers from big cities to come into their villages to collect the produce, which has some value addition, and so it can fetch a higher price, with big trucks taking to big cities for consumers. And you can see here G2 is one of the leaders in the farmers-based organization. So the chairman is signing a contract with the buyers, and they are getting their check, and G2 here is very happy. She's excited, finally she's going to get a bigger check. And what does she do with her check? So once she gets a bigger check, G2 will now be able to build a better house. She will buy a car. She will have water in the homestead. She can provide better medical care for her family. She can take her children to school. And there is a connection to electricity. And so eventually G2 is transformed. She has moved from subsistence farming. She's now a commercial farmer, and she's living a better life. So ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the story of G2. And if we can team up together in public-private producer partnership, we can move many more people like G2 from subsistence farming to commercial farming. In fact, G2 represents about 3 million smallholder farmers in Uganda who grow bananas, and many more others in Africa who struggle with subsistence farming. And if we can move them to commercial farming, then we would have solved much of their problems, and they will live, we will improve their livelihoods. That's the end of my story. Thank you very much.